Hello, greetings everyone. Let us begin our Gita study, chapter 9, with a opening prayer. This is on page 100 of this book, The Universal Prayers. 100, the middle one. There are 3 on that page. The second one. This is from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Mahapuranam. Om Namo Namaste Khilakaranaya Nishkaranaya Adbhutakaranaya Sarvagamamnaya Maharnavaya Namo Pavargaya Parayanaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Salutations to you, O Lord. You are the cause of all, but are yourself causeless. You are the wonderful origin of the entire creation. As the mighty ocean to rivers, you are the goal of all scriptures, the great refuge of all creatures, and the bestower of emancipation. Salutations to you, O Lord. The Lord is the source, the cause of all the creatures. That is what we are going to study in the 9th chapter. Last time we studied verses 4, 5 and 6. Now we begin with verse number 7 in chapter 9. The topic in the verse number 7 is something that should be familiar to you, because the same topic came in the previous chapter, 8th chapter. So let me chant verse number 7. Sarvabhūtāni kaunteya prakṛtiṃ yānti māmikām kalpakṣaye punastāni kalpādau visṛjāmyaham. All beings, O Arjuna, at the end of a cycle, return to me, return to my nature. Again, at the beginning of the next cycle, I release them forth. The idea of cyclic creation is in the Hindu Vedic tradition. Creation is not a one-time phenomenon. It happens in cycles. You are in the middle of a cycle now. When the cycle ends, all the beings go back into their unmanifest form and remain there in unmanifest form. Just like a tree remains hidden in a seed in unmanifest form. When the creation begins, next cycle of creation begins, all those beings who were in unmanifest form become manifest, assume name and form. Physical, they become physical entities. Just like a tree hidden in a seed becomes sprouts, and then sapling happens and a plant, and it becomes a tree. That is evolution. At the end of the cycle, everything goes back involution, back into unmanifest. That is the picture of creation that we study, that we have in our spiritual tradition, in Vedanta, in Sanatana Dharma. That is already you are familiar with that one. How when Brahma the creator goes to sleep, all the beings go back into unmanifest form, avyakta form. And Brahma sleep is 1000 yugas, very long night. When Brahma wakes up again, when the day begins for Brahma, all the beings which were in unmanifest form become manifest. They assume name and form and shape, begin to function. Trees, animals, plants, people, planets, stars and everything begin to function. Then again it will stay in that manifest form for during the Brahma's day, which is also 1000 yugas long day. Then again when it goes back to sleep, everything goes back. So this is happening from time immemorial. There is no origin. They cannot say when this began because it's anadi. It will be going on forever and will go on forever. We are now in the middle of a manifestation. World is happening. We are all living, functioning. So that is the picture that we studied in chapter 8, verse number 18. That you can refer back to that right now because it's the same topic. The previous chapter, verse number 18, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, Avyakta vyaktaya sarva prabhavantyahārāgame rātryāgame praliyante tatraiva vyakta samjñake. Same thing is being said here in verse number 7 in chapter 9. Sarvabhūtāni kaunteya prakṛtiṃ yānti māmikām kalpakṣaye punastāni kalpādau visṛjāmyaham. Kalpakṣaye. Kshaya means end of something. Kalpakṣaye means at the end of a kalpa. Kalpa is a very long duration of time. See, one thing that you notice in Vedanta, Hindu Dharma, or Sanatana Dharma is the ancient rishis had a very wide vision in respect of time and space. Time and space are infinite. There is no boundary for time, there is no boundary for space. They could visualize that enormous expanse of time and space. For example, measuring time, they were measuring time in terms of yugas, which is 100,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years, and thousands of yugas. You can imagine the expanse of time on the bigger, on one end of the scale, huge, infinite. If you go to the other end of the scale, the minutest period of time they were able to visualize. A muhurta is 48 minutes, and it was subdivided into small time units. In the Western system, the second is the smallest unit, and then fractions of a second, hundredth of a second, thousandth of a second, like that, nanosecond we can go. In the same way, the ancient rishis went to the other extreme. One, I don't know, millionth of a second or something, that time also they were able to visualize, the shortest period of time. There's a name for that, I forgot. It's called Kriti or something like that. Kriti, it may be Kriti. Kriti means millionth of fraction of a second. That smallest second time, T period of time, and the largest period of time. Billions of years. The earth has been present for 5 billion years approximately, like that one. So that vast expanse in either direction, they were able to visualize. That's something that we notice in our spiritual culture. So that we can see here. Kalpakṣaye, when the kalpa ends, we are doing the verse number 7. Kalpakṣaye, this first word in the second line. Kalpakṣaye, at the end of a kalpa, a long period of time. Sarvabhūtāni, all the beings, including animals, plants, people, planets, other solar systems, galaxies. Brahmadi stamba paryantani, the phrase you come across very often. From Brahma the creator to the blade of grass, all beings, no exception. Sarvabhūtāni māmikām prakṛtiṃ yānti. Māmikām means mine. Prakṛtiṃ yānti. They go back into my Prakṛti. Earlier in the 7th chapter we saw The Lord has two aspects of Prakṛti. Parā Prakṛti, Aparā Prakṛti. You should go back and review that one. 7th chapter, verses 4 and 5. Bhagavan described two aspects of Prakṛti that he has. Ishvara, Parā Prakṛti, Aparā Prakṛti. That we saw. Verses 4 and 5 in chapter 7. So we have to review those verses periodically. Now here, māmikām prakṛtiṃ yānti, kalpakṣaye, at the end of a kalpa, sarvabhūtāni, all the beings with no exception, go back into my Prakṛti. Which Prakṛti? Of which they are made. All beings are made of Parā Prakṛti or Aparā Prakṛti. Which one? Aparā Prakṛti. Aparā Prakṛti is the material part of all the beings. Upadana karana, material cause. Parā Prakṛti is the consciousness part in all the beings. That we saw in the 7th chapter, verses 4 and 5. So when all the beings end, they go back into the elements. 5 elements. For example, this chair, it will serve for some time and it breaks and disintegrates. When it disintegrates, what happens? Matter goes to the earth, and water, whatever, if there is, will evaporate and become water, and heat will dissipate, and then if there is any space, it becomes one with the space. All the whole matter which is now in the form of a chair, at the end of its existence, disintegrates and goes back into its constituent elements, of which it is made. That's the fate of all bodies, including human bodies. That's what he is saying here. Kalpakṣaye, at the end of the kalpa, sarvabhūtāni, sarvani bhūtāni, all beings, no exception, from Brahma to blade of grass. Māmikām prakṛtiṃ yānti, they go back and merge into my Aparā Prakṛti. Now what is Aparā Prakṛti? That we have to go back to 7th chapter, verse number 4. Those two verses are very important. Chapter 7, verses 4 and 5. Parā Prakṛti, Aparā Prakṛti are defined there, described there. So what is Aparā Prakṛti? That the material part of which everything is made. 8 of them are there. 5 elements. Bhūmira, po, nalo, vayo, kham. Mano, buddhi, reva, ahankara. 5 elements are the constituents of all things in this universe. Whatever thing you take, it's made up of the 5 things. So they go back into the constituent elements of which they were made. These elements got together in some object form. When the object disintegrates, the elements go back to their original state at the end of the kalpa. See, the interesting idea. Interesting topic came in the 8th chapter also. Now, when the kalpa ends, they will go back everything into avyakta, unmanifest form. Then what happens? Again, the srishti begins, creation begins, another cycle begins. That's not the end. So when the other cycle begins, kalpādau, when the new kalpa begins, then what happens? punastāni visṛjāmyaham. Again, I will release them. They come back into the manifest form. Description of the cyclic nature of creation. This topic has come before in the 8th chapter, is come here again. In this context, I again like to remind you of verse number 18 in chapter 8. There Bhagavan says, avyaktāvyaktāyas sarvā prabhavantyahārāgame rātyāgame praliyante tatraivavyakta samjñake. So that is the description of cyclic nature of creation. Verse number 7. Fairly simple, nothing complicated there. Now we go to verse number 8. Verse number 8, how he creates, Ishvara, how the Lord creates the beings at the beginning of the cycle kalpa is indicated here. So verse number 8. Prakṛtiṃ svāmavashtabhya visṛjāmi punah punah bhūtagramamimam kritsnam avasham prakrtirvashat. Interesting idea in this verse. Prakṛtiṃ swam avashtabhya visṛjāmi punah punah bhūtagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakrtirvashat. Words are separated. Then the translation, resorting to my prakrti, again and again, I release this entire multitude of bound beings, swayed by and dependent on their nature, on that nature. The nature of the beings is being described here. And then he says, at the beginning of the new cycle of creation, punah punah, again and again, is not a one-time phenomenon. Punah punah, again and again, bhūtagramam visṛjāmi. Grama means a collection of things. Grama also means a town, small town, village. In Hindi it becomes gaon. Bhūtagrama means collection of beings, whole collection of beings. Whatever type of beings are there in this universe. Bhūtagrama, the entire congregation, collection of beings, bhūtagramam imam, this collection of beings. Kritsnam, Kritsnam means whole, everything. The whole collection of beings, whatever beings are there. Visṛjāmi, I'll release them from the unmanifest, I'll make them manifest. Creation, new cycle begins. Visṛjāmi, punah punah, this happens again and again. How does he do that one? Swam, you see the word swam after prakṛtiṃ on the first line, prakṛtiṃ swam. Swam means my own. My own. Prakṛtiṃ avashtabhya, resorting to my own prakrti. He has two aspects of prakrti, Parā, Aparā. So resorting to his prakrti, which is his power, he, what does he do? The Lord, punah punah bhūtagramam visṛjāmi. He released the whole collection of beings, everything. Release means they come into manifest form. Until now they were hidden in unmanifest form. And what kind of beings are there? Prakrtehe vashat avasham bhūtagramam. These beings, whether it is Brahma the creator or the blade of grass or all the in-between things, people, everything, they are not independent. Vasha means control. Avasha means they have no control about their fate. For example, human beings have no control about what they want to do. I cannot be born in a family which I like better. I was born in some family, but I notice other families are much better. No, I cannot change that one. So our hands are tied every which way. Avasham, we are guided by our own prakrti. Our life is limited by our own prakrti. Prakrti means our own karma. We are whatever happens in our life cannot be controlled by us in the way we want. We all know that from experience. What happens depends upon our previous karma, samskara, whatever we have earned. But it is the good side of it is, by doing good samskara now I can have a better future. That means the responsibility for my life comes back to me myself. I can change my future, but I cannot change my present. Because present depends upon what I did before. And the good side of it is what I do now defines my future. So I have control of what I can do now, at least to some extent. To some extent I can change what I can do now. Little bit scope is there for free will. By using my free will, which is limited, in the right way, I can change my future. Swamiji emphasizes this one. So, avasham bhutagramam prakṛtir avasham. They are controlled by their own prakriti, swabhava vashat. I released them. Why this lack of control? Why can't I change whatever I want to do? Why can't I do now? Because I am limited by my ignorance. I think I am the body and the mind. Body, mind are limited physical things. You can only do something, so much. Some people have much better bodies. They can lift 300 pounds. I have difficulty lifting 10 pounds. That is because of our previous karma. To some extent we can change. I can become able to lift 15 pounds or 20 pounds by hard work, but there is a limit to that. So, avasham prakrtehe vashat avasham imam bhutagramam krishnam. All, the whole congregation of beings which are limited by their own prakriti, I release them again and again at the beginning of a new kalpa, resorting to my prakriti. Swam prakṛtiṃ avashthabhya. So the description of the cycle of creation. There is a way out of this though. That exit from this cycle of birth and death is available for human beings, not for animals and plants. We can exit from this loop of birth and death. We don't have to be eternally get stuck in this one. But we have to find the exit and get out of this. That is in our hands. That's where spiritual practice comes into picture. Only human beings can do spiritual practice and realize their divine nature. No other beings can do that one. So that's why human life is extolled as the most precious gift. In many scriptures, human life is praised, extolled as the best thing we can have, the best gift we can have. We have received that gift. If you are born as an animal, elephant or a tiger, what can we do? We just live by instinct. We eat when you are hungry, we sleep when you are tired. But human beings have infinite power hidden within us. Infinite power is hidden within each of us. We only don't know how to harness it and use it. Ignorance, avidya. So that avidya can be overcome. Great many sages, innumerable sages, saints and teachers, avatars, incarnate, have shown us the way out. They say you don't have to remain stuck in the cycle of birth and death. Unless you enjoy it, then you can do it. Nobody is preventing. If you want to be released from the cycle of birth and death, limited, all the sufferings and old age and disease and everything, if you want to realize your infinite nature as Brahman, you are Brahman, Tattvamasi. If you want to realize that, experience it, then there is a way out. What is the way? Different teachers have given. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, very often this question comes, Thakur, what is the way? That what is the way question comes many times in the Gita. And he gives a simple answer. He says, repetition of God's name, chanting His glories, discriminating between real and the unreal, doing your duties, 7, 8, these simple things, which most people can do. That is the way out. That is available. But most people are struggling within the human life, worldly life, trying to find happiness. If I acquire more property, I'll be happy. If I have bigger family, I'll be happy. If I have this, I'll be happy. If I do that, I'll be happy. That's because of avidya, ignorance. You don't even know that there's a way out. Many people. That is why in the 7th chapter, shloka number 3, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, out of thousands of people, only one here and there tries for moksha. Only one rare person tries to get out of this cycle. Otherwise, most people are happy. manipulating something, this if I do, I'll be happy, this if I do, I'll be happy. They remain stuck in the cycle, in the circle. They don't know there is an exit to infinity. I can become infinite. Don't be limited to this one little body and limitation. No, I can become infinite. My nature is infinite. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Anantam is infinite. I am that. That we don't know. Only one rare person knows that and tries to get out of this cycle of birth and death and find liberation. Not many are interested. That's explained in verse number 3 in chapter 7. A very interesting verse. It's worth going back to. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatate siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschid mam veti tattvataha. Sahasreshu manushyanam madhye. Of thousands of people, thousands, sahasreshu plural. Kaschid yatati siddhaya yatati. Only one person here and there tries for siddhi, liberation. Siddhi means liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Becoming one with Brahman. Tries. Yatatāmapi siddhānam. Of those few who try, kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Only one here, one there, succeeds in knowing me fully, succeeds in reaching the goal of realization. So we have a way out. We don't have to get stuck in this cycle of birth and death. It is available. That's the good side of it. We have to try a little bit. If we don't try, nothing happens. We will status quo, remain as we are. If you want to change things for the better, we have to put in self-effort. Chapter 6, verse 5, Sri Krishna emphasized self-effort. Uddhared atmanatmanam. You know that verse. So let us go to the next verse here. Human beings can become free and become one with the infinite. 9th verse. No, not 9th verse. Yeah, it is 9th verse. We read 8. 9th verse. In this 9th verse, Bhagavan mentions a very interesting, important concept. Bhagavan has no agency for action, Kartṛtva. Ordinary person has. I will explain what is Kartṛtva. Bhagavan has no Bhoktṛtva. Bhoktṛtva means enjoying the fruit of action, good and bad. Ordinary people like us have both Kartṛtva and Bhoktṛtva. Now what is Kartṛtva, Bhoktṛtva, why we should not have it, we have to understand. Let me chant this verse first. Verse number 9. Nachamam tāni karmāni nibadhanti dhananjaya udāsīnavadāsīnam asaktam teshu karmasu. Nachamam tāni karmāni nibadhanti dhananjaya. All separate words. Udāsīnavat āsīnam asaktam teshu karmasu. Separating the words. Then translation. Those actions means creating the beings, releasing them into manifest form at the time at beginning of the kalpa, and withdrawing them and putting them into unmanifest form at the end of the kalpa. That means creation and involution and involution, creation and dissolution. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. Laya means dissolution at the end of a kalpa. Srishti means creation at the beginning of the kalpa. Those actions, tāni karmāni mām nanibadhanti. Dhananjaya is Arjuna. Those actions do not bind me. When you do some action, result will come, that's bondage. When you do, ordinary person does an action, the result will come and he has to go through the result. Yes, there is a consequence for every action. Good, good, bad, bad, none escape the law. Swamiji said in the Song of Sannyasa. If I do good action, good result will come, I have to experience it. If I do bad action, bad result will come and I have to experience it too. I am bound by the result of action I do. That is called bhoktrītva. Bhoga means enjoying. Enjoying the fruit of action, good or bad. I have to experience. I can't escape. I cannot do something and be free. Supposing I do something bad, say steal somebody's property, then I cannot escape the consequence. It will come to me sooner or later. I am bound. That is bhoktrītva. Bhoktrītva means the inevitability of enjoying the fruit of my action. That we have, jivas have. Kartṛtva means the notion that I am the doer. We will see why Kartṛtva is bad in a moment. I have a strong feeling that I am speaking now. I have a strong feeling that I will drinking water now. This is feeling that I am doing this action is ingrained in me. But the Lord has no such Kartṛtva, no bhoktrītva. He is free. How? We can understand. And we have to understand how I can become free from Kartṛtva, bhoktrītva. Those are binding, those are bondages. Karma is binding. I can become free. There's a way out. How? That we have seen before in third chapter and other karma yoga chapters. We will come to that. So let us see the verse first. Nachamam tāni karmāni nibadhanti dhananjaya. They don't bind me. My action don't bind me. So action means srishti, chiti, slaya, creation, preservation, destruction. That is withdrawal of the creation. Udasīnavat āsīnam. Mam means me, is describing him. Asaktam teshu karmasu. In those actions, I have no attachment. Ordinary person has attachment to the karma he does, he or she does. Lord has no attachment to the karma he or she does. The Lord has no attachment to the karma he does. Creation, preservation, destruction. It happens without his agency. He does not have to do anything and say, I am doing. How can it happen without his agency? Without his doing something? I'll explain that one in a moment. How does he remain? Asīnaha. He remains, asīna means remains seated. He does not run about like ordinary people. He is there. And then, like sun, he is there. Udasīnavat, as if he is unattached, uninterested. But by his power, all actions are happening. Whole creation is coming into existence. Whole creation remains sustained for a long period of kalpa, and whole creation goes back into unmanifest by his power. But he says he is not involved in it. He doesn't have the agency, he doesn't enjoy or suffer the fruit of action. He is free. How? We can also become free from Kartṛtva, bhoktrītva. Let us first understand how he is free from Kartṛtva, bhoktrītva. Take for example the sun. What does the sun do? He just shines, which in nature is shine, is intrinsic dharma, karma, intrinsic dharma. He doesn't have to work hard to shine, it is his nature. By simply remaining, a lot of energy is coming out. Now because of his presence in the sky, so many things are happening on this earth. Everything happening only because of sun's power. Remove the sun's power, nothing happens. For example, if the earth were far away from the sun, where Pluto is now, what would happen? There will be no being, no life, no human beings, no animals, no plants, no fighting, nothing will be there. And nothing on the Pluto, just a dead, cold planet. What makes the earth a living, vibrant planet? So many people doing good and bad, and trees and plants and all the things are happening. Sun is causing them to happen. But what is he doing directly? Does he come down to the earth and put water in the plant? Now he stays in the sky. By his power, everything happens. Yet he does not do anything. Sun has no Kartṛtva. Sun does not say, I am doing all these things on the earth. He doesn't have that feeling. He is not affected by what happens on the earth. Supposing so many people do bad things on the earth, he is not affected. But by his power, people do bad things. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna says, Using the sun's light, one power reads the scripture, one man reads the scriptures, one man commits forgery. But is the sun responsible for good and bad? No. Is the sun enjoy the benefit of good action? Does the sun suffer because somebody does bad? No. No kartṛtva, no bhoktrītva. We can become like that. It's not in the sloka, but that's the intended message. We can all become free from kartṛtva, bhoktrītva, agency for action, and we can become free from the fruit of our action. No suffering, no enjoyment. How? We already know the answer. Karma yoga. By performing our actions with detachment, it has come so many times so far in the earlier chapters. How to become free from the bondage of karma. We have to do karma, we can't escape, but we can become free. By giving up agency and by giving up attachment to fruit of action. Many places in the Gita, up to now, first 5 chapters, chapters 2 to 5, so many hints, indications, instructions have been given. How to become free from attachment to karma, karma phala. Attachment to karma means, no, I am not the doer. Attachment to karma phala means, I did this action, it must come to me. Detachment. Attachment to karma means, I am the doer. We can become free from that one. Attachment to karma phala means enjoying the good and bad result of our, I can become free from that one. How? By practicing detachment. So many instructions. I'll give one place where many instructions are given. That is verse number 30 in chapter 3. Chapter 3, verse number 30. It will come in 9th chapter also it will come. How to become free from kartṛtva, bhoktrītva. But since you already have studied that, chapter 3, verse 30. And also chapter 2, verse 48. Sri Krishna has given instructions on how to become free from attachment to karma and karma phala. I am neither the doer nor the enjoyer of fruit of my action. That is freedom. Then you are free. You are not bound by the inaction. How to get that freedom from karma, karma phala, from kartṛtva, bhoktrītva? Already we know the answer. It will come again in the 9th chapter. Bhagavan has no kartṛtva, no bhoktrītva, and we can also become free from kartṛtva, bhoktrītva. That is the intention of verse number 9. Main point in verse number 9. Now we do, I can explain a little bit more about the kartṛtva. Verse number 27 in chapter 3. How an ordinary person becomes involved in kartṛtva. I am the doer. I did this. I am the head of the department. I am managing all these things. This belongs to me. I am the head. I am doing this. I have done all these things. If a person keeps saying that one, he is the most foolish person. These are not my words, these are Sri Krishna's words. Most foolish person. If a person says, I am the doer, he is the most foolish person. Who says? Sri Krishna says. Where? 327. Chapter 3, verse 27. It's a very, language is very direct. Bhagavan uses direct language. There he says, Prakṛti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimodhatma karta aham iti manyate. Aham karta, I am the doer iti ko manyate. Who says that one? Ahankara vimodhatma. A foolish and egotistic person says, I am the doer, I have done this, I am doing this one. If anybody says that, we have to point out this verse number 327, Ahankara vimodhatma karta aham iti manyate. Then how does action happen? Action is happening through him. How does it happen if he is not doing anything? It says in the first line, answer is given. Prakṛtehe gunaihi sarvashaha karmani kriyamanani. You are doing verse 27, chapter 3, about kartṛtva. Prakṛtehe gunaihi, by the gunas of Prakrti. What are the gunas of Prakrti? They translate into sense objects, sense organs. including the mind. All actions, sarvāni karmāni kriyamanāni, all actions are being done by whom? Prakṛtehe gunaihi, by the gunas of Prakriti, which translate into sense organ, sense object. Sense organ includes mind. All, if you examine the locus of action, where action happens, all actions happen only between only as interaction between one or more sense organs or one or more sense objects. Is it not? Can you think of an action which happens without a sense organ, sense object? Not possible. Even if you are thinking is an action. There is no sense object there. Mind is acting as the sense organ and creating sense objects in its own mental sphere. Created, imagined sense objects. That's also action. So, ahankara vimūಢātma, a person identifies with the sense organ, sense object, with sense organs. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the hand, I am doing all these things. But a wise person does not do that mistake. He does not think of himself as the body, sense organs. He thinks of himself as the Atman. If that wisdom is there, then he will become free from Kartṛtva. All actions are happening. I am not involved in it. I am the Atman. Actions are happening at the sense organ, sense object level, neither of which I am. Supposing a jnani is drinking water, and then jnani can say, I didn't drink the water. Then you drank the water? No, I didn't drink the water. Then what happened to the water? He says, sense organs, hand, tongue, mouth, digestive system interacted with water, sense object, neither of which I am. Am I the hand? Am I the mouth? Am I the tongue? Which tasted the water? Am I the digestive organs? I am the Atman. Action happening, but I am not involved in it. I am not the doer. No Kartṛtva. That was explained in chapter 5, verse 8 and 9. Naiva kinchit karomiti. So we can go on like that, but a wise person does not become involved in action. He withdraws himself or herself from the body-mind domain. All actions are happening in the body-mind domain. So he is free from Kartṛtva. That's what we can do. But it's not easy, but the way out is available. Now let us see how does a wise person do this one. Next verse, chapter 3, verse number 28. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Tattvavittu mahabāho gunakarma vibhāgayoh gunaguneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. How does a jnani become free from attachment to karma phala? Is explained in verse number 28 in chapter 3. We studied all of this before in detail, but it's been so long, so we have to remind ourselves. That's why I'm going back a little bit. How does a jnani become free from Kartṛtva, Bhoktrtva? Tattvavit, a person who knows the truth. O Mahabāho Arjuna, does not become attached to karma phala. Na sajjate. Na sajjate comes in the second line. Guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. That does not become attached to karma phala. How does he remain free from the attachment to karma phala? Guna guneshu vartante iti matva. Knowing that, matva means knowing that sense organs, sense objects interact with sense organs, interact with sense objects, neither of which I am. That is jnana. Jnani thinks he is not the body mind, he thinks he is the Atman. So he is free from the domain of work. He is above. Work does not affect him, karma phala does not affect him. He is free from attachment. We can do that one, but that is difficult. Simpler ways are there to become free from attachment to karma phala. How? Path of devotion, karma yoga. Whatever work you do, offer it to me. Then you don't have to say, I don't have to say I am not a body mind, which is difficult for me. I can still think I am the body and the mind and still become free from attachment to karma phala. How? By dedicating all actions to God. Maya sarvāni karmāni sanyasya. That comes in several places, including in 9th chapter, verse number 27. That is the way for us to become free from kartṛtva, bhoktrutva, from the bondage of work. Work happens, but I am not affected by the fruit of action. That is the way to freedom. All that is intended here, but I am giving the detailed explanation. Now we go to verse number 10. How God remains free from kartṛtva is explained here, verse number 10. Maya-jakṣena prakrtihi sūyate sacarācaram hetunānena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. Maya, by me, adhyakṣena, I am the president. Adhyaksha means president or supervisor, president. Prakrti sacarācaram sūyate. Prakrti creates the whole bhutagrama, all beings, moving and unmoving, chara achara, moving and unmoving. Anena hetuna kaunteya jagad viparivartate. So let us see the translation here. Due to me, the supervisor, adhyaksha, nature gives birth to the world of mobile and immobile beings. Suyate means gives birth to sacharacharam. Chara means moving objects, like people, animals, things like that. Achara means not moving objects like mountains and trees and other objects. Prakrtihi sacharacharam sūyate, gives birth to so many different kinds of beings because of me, maya adhyakṣena, because of my power. He doesn't do it himself directly. The sun does not do anything, but because of sun everything happens. See, that is the picture given here. Anena hetuna kaunteya, for this reason, hetu means reason. For this reason, because Prakrti projects all the beings, Arjuna, it revolves in manifold ways. Jagat viparivartate, the whole world. Jagat means whole world. The whole world means all the beings. They keep on revolving in the cycle of birth and death helplessly, not knowing how to get out of this cycle because of ajnana. The way is open for everybody, exit is open to everyone, but very few know it, very few still get out of it. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidyatit siddhaya, 7.3. That is how does this happen? Best example is the sun. Because of sun's presence, everything happens on the earth. He is not affected by anything that happens on the earth. Because of his power, everything happens. Still, he is not affected by the result. He doesn't enjoy suffer because whatever happens, good or bad on this earth, he remains free. No kartṛtva, no bhakti. That's why God is called the adhyaksha. He is the supervisor. Supervisor does not himself do any work. Other people under him work. Like that one. Adhyakṣena prakrtihi sacharacharam sūyate. Prakrti creates the whole universe of beings, moving and unmoving beings. And because of this Prakrti's action of creation, jagat viparivartate, the world whole revolves in ignorance. That comes again in chapter 18, verse number 61. Verse number 61. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, whole universe, all the beings revolve life after life, doing good and bad things and enjoying good and bad fruits of actions. Say 1861. Let me go to that one. Yantrārūಢāni māyayā. 66. Just a second. Ishvara sarvabhūtānam hriddesherjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhūtāni yantrārūಢāni māyaya. If you imagine a merry-go-round, children are sitting on the horseback and the machine revolves and children are also revolving. They are happy, oh, I am flying on the horse like that one. They are all doing the same mistake. Going round and round, life after life, but not learning the lesson. Very slow. That we should not allow that to happen. So we will not have time to do the next one. Let us do verse number 11 also. Another 5 minutes are there. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumāśritam param bhāvamajanantah mama bhūta maheshwaram. Fools insult me, who having assumed the human body, who has assumed the human body, for they are unaware of my transcendent status as the great Lord of all beings. When God comes in human form, manushim tanumāśritam, tanu means body, manushim tanu means human body, ashritam means he has taken a human body. When God comes in the form of human being, ordinary people don't recognize the divinity of that person. Even in an ordinary person, not incarnation. In incarnation, people cannot recognize. Sri Ramakrishna, in incarnation of God, people did not know. They thought he was a madman. They brought so many Kavirajas and doctors to treat him, thinking he was mad. They didn't know that he was a divinity. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, of all the beings in the creation, it's only in the human being that God's manifestation is maximum. You can see the presence of God very clearly in human beings, not so clearly in animals and plants, not so clearly in inanimate objects. He is there in everyone, even in inanimate objects, but not manifest, not visible that much. God's presence is most clearly visible in human beings, but we don't recognize. That is what he is saying in verse number 7. Manushim tanumāśritam mam, me who has taken up human form, mudhaha avajananti, they disregard me and don't recognize me and insult me. Like that one. That Sri Ramachandra was the incarnation of God was known only to 12 people. Other people thought he was son of Dasharatha. Incarnation of God, people can't recognize him. That's a big shield of ignorance. Mama parambhavam ajanantaha. Mama means mine. Parambhava means supreme, transcendental nature. Ajanantaha, not knowing my transcendental nature, divine nature. Mama bhūta maheshwaram. Mam bhūta maheshwaram. They don't. I am the Lord of all the beings. Bhūta maheshwaram. I am the Supreme Lord. Since I have taken human form, manushim tanumāśritam, ordinary people disregard me. Another guy same there, like that one. They don't recognize my divinity. Even when I come in human form. When I come in other forms, how can they recognize? They can't recognize. The easiest way to recognize God is in human form. To the maximum extent, God's power, presence is visible in human form, much less in other beings. Even then we don't recognize. That is because of deep ignorance. That we should not do. What we should do, we already has been told in 6th chapter. Whenever we see somebody or something, we have to see the divine presence in it. There is one shloka in the 6th chapter, shloka number 30. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, he who sees me in all and all in me, to him I am never lost. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra, 6:30. Very important verse. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Whenever we see somebody, at least human beings, if not animals and plants, we'll come to that second level. First level, spiritual practice. Whenever I see some person, good person, bad person, man or woman, educated, poor, rich, doesn't matter. I should bring to my mind a thought that God is present in this person. That person may not agree, that person may not believe in God, that's not my problem. My duty is to see God in that person. No discussion necessary, no speech, you don't have to say God is present in you. Then there will be an argument, what is God, have you seen God, like that he will ask. No need to say anything, keep our mouth closed. When the moment we talk about all the God and everything, many people will object and they will start argument. They will give all kinds of counter arguments. And there will be more heat than light generated during this argument. So that's not necessary. Simply say in your mind, I bow down to you, the divine presence in you. That's why we say namaskar, namaste. It really means that. But you have to mean it, you have to feel it. Simply words is not good enough. When we see somebody, we greet, taking the name of God. In North India, they say Jai Ram Jai Ki, Ram Ram Jai Ki. In Gujarat, they say Jai Shri Krishna. All trying to remind ourselves that God is present in that other person. That we have to do it consciously. That is what we have to do. Verse number 7 says, ordinary people don't do that one. They disregard, they cannot recognize divine presence in human beings. Even if God comes in human form, they don't recognize, they insult that person. Like that one. So let us stop here. Continue next time. If you have any questions about these verses, you can ask me by email or phone. I will be happy to answer to the extent of my knowledge. Let us say the closing prayer. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om, may all be happy, may all be free from diseases and other problems, may all realize and practice what is noble and dharmic, may no one be subject to suffering of any kind. Om peace, may there be peace and joy in our hearts, Adhyatmika Shanti, may there be peace and harmony amongst all beings, Adi Bhautika Shanti, may there be peace everywhere in nature, Adi Daivika Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all and stay well and see you, God willing, next week.